or night it might be to you. We appreciate having you here. We will be formally starting in a few minutes. Excellent. Welcome, one and all, to the formal start of our session of Evaluation of Research Interest Group, where we're looking at current and future activities. We're really happy that you've all made the time today to work with us on this. My name is Amy Nernberger, and I am a co-chair of this group. With me today is Françoise. Françoise?
Françoise Genova? Pardon. Go on.
Other co-chairs of this group are Emma Crott out of Australia and Davika, who will not be here today with us, but we look forward to hosting them at the next plenary in Australia. So looking forward to that. So just as a reminder, if whether you're new or old to RDA, please keep these 6 guiding principles close to your heart as they are to the heart of the RDA community, thinking about openness, consensus, harmonization, being community-driven, nonprofit, technology neutral, as well as really embodying that spirit of inclusivity. And if you haven't joined the RDA, why not? If you have, excellent, well done. So today we are going to be giving a short overview of the group, what we're about, what we've been working on, just in case you're either new to the group or would like a quick refresher, because we know how that is if you're touching in with a lot of different groups. We are going to talk about the various liaisons that the group has with other groups and other efforts. One of these will be with COARA, where Erzsébet is going to talk a little bit about that, as well as talking about next steps. Then we will have a discussion of what the group is currently working on, and we really look forward to speaking with you, all of the attendees, about that current work, as well as what our next activities are going to be. So we have a couple of areas to get your feedback on. There's the task force work of the Registry of Relative Initiatives, as well as looking at research evaluation when it comes to disciplinary aspects, and the statement that we have around evaluation of research and why RDA is such an important figure in this space. And we'll come in with the next steps so that we can make sure we have even more to talk about when we get to Australia next time. So, Françoise, did you want to introduce the overall evaluation of research group?
Yes, I can do that. So the group, the idea is to advocate for fair data and software as research outputs. You know that evaluation of research is dominated by bibliographic indexes. And so the idea is that it has to change. And so among research outputs, the diversity of real research outputs, data and software, of course, are in the heart of the RDA community. So there are many aspects of evaluation of research and its evolution, which are dealt with in the RDA. And the aim of the group is to coordinate the efforts and to liaise and contribute to other initiatives. So we have the 3 co-chairs. We have a wiki site. You can go and register to become a group member if you are not yet. And we also have a first output, which was to have a look at RDA activity and understand what are the activities which are of value for evaluation of research. And one of the things we will discuss later is a possible update of this output. So next slide. So the current activities, so as Amy was explaining with the agenda, we will begin with a liaison with relevant initiatives and registry of relevant initiatives, what is going on in a task force, to get your comments. Going further, we had a pre-plenary meeting a few weeks ago, and we began to discuss the possible role of RDA in tackling the disciplinary aspects of evaluation. And so we would like to continue the discussion with you and again, the possible update of our first output. Next. So, you go on.
Oh.
It's you go.
So like I said, we have a few relevant initiatives that we've been working with across this group, some of which you may be aware of. There is, of course, Quora, and Erzsébet is going to say a little bit more about that. But before we turn the slides over to Erzsébet, I did want to hit on a few other of the relevant issues that we have been working with and building connections with. One is Make Data Count, and our main point of contact with that has been Iratxe Puebla, who was a presenter at our P23 pre-plenary meeting. And I'm sorry, I do not have my participant list up, so I do not know if Iratxe is here as well. But no, but this is definitely, when it comes to thinking about evaluation of research and the position of data and software in there, cannot overemphasize the importance of Make Data Count as a partner in this space. One of our other partnerships with the relevant initiatives of efforts is the Force 11 Data Usage Typologies Working Group. So again, there's quite a bit of crossover, so we're really thankful to be able to have an opportunity to work with that group as well. A new initiative that has come up, as you may have seen, that the National Institute of Health within the US has recently launched a challenge to create an index, a data sharing index. So something kind of like the H-index for articles, but for data. So I would invite you to take a look at this. This challenge is really looking at where the NIH has heard many of the comments about it's very hard to create metrics around data the way we do around articles. And some might say that's a good thing because we don't want to create the same metrics around data that we did for articles. But what this challenge is really about is re-envisioning what those metrics might be. There is a team that Shelley Stahl, you might be familiar with, Shelley has started that's drawing heavily on people from the RDA and associating with the RDA. So if you are interested in participating in this challenge, I would encourage you to reach out to Shelley Stahl at your earliest convenience because that team roster has to be submitted by Friday. So please connect with Shelley about that. And then take a quick pause. Any question about these relevant initiatives before we hand the slides over to Erzsébet to talk about Quora specifically? Please feel free to raise your hand, unmute yourself, or put something in chat. All right, then. With that, I will stop sharing, and Erzsébet, please go ahead and share.
Hello, everybody, and thanks for having me. I'm just about to, sorry for the technical hiccup. My computer just crashed and I had to restart it. Yes, no worries. I'm joining properly back to the session in a second. Just give me 1 second. I'm back. My computer is alive again. I just need to join the internet and then it will be good to go. Sorry for this.
No worries. Technological difficulties happen to everyone.
That's true. Okay, I'm kind of back. I can see the Zoom. Yes. But so in the meantime, so welcome everybody and thanks for having me. My name is Erzsébet Tóth Cifra. I'm the program manager of Quora. And we are collaborating with the Special Interest Group, Research Assessment Interest Group of RDA. And as part of the collaboration, Françoise asked me to first of all brainstorm together a little bit today, and also to kickstart the discussion to have a bit of an overview of Quora's activities. So this is a very short one. So this is what is going to happen. Just rejoining. Okay, I'm connecting back to the Zoom. Perfect.
Recording in progress.
Okay.
We have an echo, Elizabeth. You have to. You have to shut your phone, Elizabeth.
Yes, I know. Sorry, it took a while.
Right.
Yes,
Elizabeth,
sorry, I'm here. Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I think I managed to deduplicate myself and also restart my computer, so nothing is keeping me back from my presentation. Sorry, thank you for your patience. Once again, computers are crashing at worst possible moment. So if you're attending this session, I assume that you've already heard about Quora. So what I would like to just reiterate very briefly is that it's a relatively young coalition, as you can see here, but it's a great one. So after like marking the second anniversary or passing the second anniversary of Quora, what we see is the coalition keeps growing and growing. In terms of signatories, we passed the 800 mark at the beginning of the year, and in terms of signatories, we passed the 700 mark. We have 13 very active working groups who are nearing the end of their operations and are beginning to rolling out outputs. We have 19 national chapters. We already see policy impact. I will be happy to take you closer to that. And the project funding sustainability of the coalition is also about to get sorted out. So another thing that I recommend you to keep in mind when about Quora is that it's the coalition of the doers. That is, if you remember, signatories of the agreement don't only just endorse what is in the agreement, but they also commit to take those commitments home to their institutions and implement them and within a 5 years time frame. And they also commit to share their progress and strategy of doing so from 1 year from joining Quora. So this is the exercise that we call action planning. And here you can see a couple of highlights, how coalition members reflect to the exercise. And if there are research on research or more data-savvy people in the room, which I assume, this is a heads up for you. We are also working on an full text analysis platform for action plans in collaboration with our partners CNRS. And currently we are testing the beta version. Here you can see the kind of data visualization and analysis methods that it will enable us to perform on the full text of action plans. So these will be interactive platforms where coalition members can not only, like interact with their own action plans, but also bring their research questions to this great corpus. In the meantime, while we are launching it, you can access the corpus of action plans via Zenodo, and you can obviously also use the Zenodo API to interact with them, interact with this great and growing corpus. In terms of activities, so supporting members in their efforts to create their action plans is obviously one of our key activities. We're organizing webinars of different kinds about that, but national chapters who are country-level homes of Quora also have or are also providing country-level specific support to them. As I mentioned, we have 13 working groups. I didn't list them on my slide, but you can, of course, visit them on the Quora website. They began to roll out their outputs, and the next step that we are facing with them, two things. The first is that we set up community review and approval mechanisms for the working group outputs, for which, by the way, we rely on the RDA framework in this respect heavily, but not entirely. And then if you wonder where the Quora outputs are going to, how they are going to showcase for the broader community, they're going to launch a Quora toolbox in which we highlight all the outputs that have been developed by Quora communities or approved by Quora communities. It's coming soon towards the end of the year. Also, I mentioned national chapters. You may imagine that once the ambition is not smaller than going for a truly systemic change in research assessment, one absolutely success criteria of that is to show sensitivity to different languages, different national legislations. We know that research assessment is highly embedded in those. But we also know that in many cases, what organizations really need to properly implement the Quora commitments is a bit of funding. So to this extent, we have within the Horizon Europe project Quora Boost, 2 rounds of cascade funding. We finished the first one. So on the Quora website, you can see the first portfolio of projects funded by this Quora Institutional Change Research Assessment Cascade funding. And the second round is still open until we are going to close it right after Easter. So if you have last minute ideas, you are welcome to submit it. And we also have offline, online, hybrid Quora thematic events. If you sign up the Quora newsletter and socials, you can keep yourself up to date about them. You may wonder what kind of impact we see. Yes, here is just a couple of snapshots that I wanted to highlight to you. So we began to see early impact of Quora both on national levels and on the European level. They will be turned into impact case studies. Probably the most widespreadly known is how ERC, the European Research Council, implemented Quora in the way that they rewrote their grant evaluation processes. They introduced narrative CVs and they rebalanced research teams' past achievements and future potential and the different weight assigned to those in evaluation. That was quite a milestone. But if we have attendees from the UK, you can also check Quora explicitly implemented in the culture headings of the new ref. Here is a snapshot of all kinds of policy documents where we see explicit references to Quora and changes suggested from Switzerland to Japan, pretty much globally. And a last thing that I wanted to highlight in this very brief presentation is that, policy change is one thing. Policy change is extremely important, national, international, global frameworks, enabling a change. But just as importantly, we see a very rich and highly multilingual scholarly discussion evolving around Quora, and we are also collecting those instances in the different languages in Zotero library. So yes, what else to expect to the second quarter of this year? Soon we are going to open a second call for working groups. Stay tuned for this. It will be a little bit more top-down in the sense that it will be organized along predefined topics, such as university rankings or team science. You will see more action plan webinars. You will see the closing of the second round of the Quora Cascade funding, and you will see Quora General Assembly on the 23rd of June. So yes, if you are interested, follow us on the socials or reach out to me or sign up for the Quora newsletter, and then you can stay on top of our activities. Thanks a lot, and sorry for the technical hiccup once again.
Thank you so much for that overview, Eshabet. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure everyone else does as well. It's great to see how Quora is developing, and how to be able to keep up and stay involved with Quora as well. I'm especially interested in checking out your Zotero library on research assessment, as I'm sure everyone here might have some passing interest in that collection of information too. I'd like to open up the floor now for any questions, again, for either Eshabet about Quora, or for, the collection of all of us on what our liaison with Quora looks like and what projects we're collaborating on. Francoise? Francoise, I cannot hear you.
Yes.
Yep.
It's just a comment on what you said, Erzsébet. You said that there will be call for comments for the products of the Quora working groups. So I think that we have to establish a liaison which allows us to disseminate the link towards the call for comments when there is one. So I think it's one action we can take, so that the people who are around now and other people who may be interested are aware that they are invited to comment. Because it's one of our aims to have the voice of RDA community heard from other initiatives.
Indeed, it would be super valuable, and I think it's a very concrete, and I have to admit also very feasible way of collaboration. So I think we will be easily set up the link with there, François, as you will get the information from the Secretariat.
Great. I have too many screens open, so I cannot take notes at the same time. So if someone could please make sure to capture that action in the notes, that would be fabulous. Thank you. Any other questions about Quora or about any of the other liaisons we have? Please. Or building on that, are there groups or efforts we should reach out to specifically that have this same kind of overarching reach into different places that are working in the evaluation or assessment of research area? Please let us know. Please speak up, or write it down, type it in. Yeah, Javier, please. Javier, I believe you're speaking, but I cannot hear you. Yes.
I unmuted myself. Well, hello, and thank you for organizing this session. Very interesting. I would like to maybe add a comment to what Erzsébet explained on Quora, and maybe this is the good moment or the good place. And she mentioned it maybe a bit in passing, but I would like to highlight that Quora, even if it is gaining more traction in Europe, and most of its members are European organizations, but it's actually global in scope. It's completely open for any organization around the world to actually sign the agreement, which is the foundational basis of all this, and then participate completely freely. There is no member fees or anything in the Quora. And of course, this group is a little bit of a different nature. This is community driven, whereas Quora is organizations driven. It's actually organizations joining. But I think that proposing in your organizations, and I am addressing here mainly the non-European members in this audience, raising this possibility of joining Quora in your respective organizations is a very interesting one, I think, because it's opened a reflection process about what it means, what it would entail, why would we need to do it? And then it helps in putting the topic of research assessment in the forefront of the reflections at the organizational level. And that is needed because this is a complex topic, and of course you need to advance through initiatives like this one. I think this RDA group is a very good idea, and it can bring a lot of expertise about new ideas about how to better assess data sharing, what metrics could be useful, what are the right pathways and so. But at the same time, you also need advances at the institutional level. And that is where Quora can help a lot, because the one without the other do not work. You need the experts, actually, the good ideas, new tools, new ways of doing things, and this is mainly community, people-driven like this. But then you also need, and Erzsébet was highlighting that, to have the policy push or the institutional push. And that requires also bringing this debate and this reflection to a higher level. So the managerial level, the university leaders or the research organization leaders, etc., to think about it. So I just wanted to make a small plea to encourage, maybe at least opening up the discussion in your places. Have a look at the agreement. It's open for everyone. Read it, see whether it makes sense, it doesn't make sense. And if you think it's an interesting pathway, bring it up for discussion in your organizations. I think that's what I wanted to say. While highlighting that there is very good complementarity between the two. It's not like I'm trying to steal customers, go to Quora. No. It's two different kind of actions, but both fit each other and both are needed to actually advance in this field.
No,
That's
thank you
my
very
remark.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the comment, Javier. I appreciate it absolutely to emphasize the fact that Quora is global in nature and organizationally driven and based. So yes, please, if you believe that this is a space where your organization would benefit from being actively involved in Quora, yet please do go for that. And then I see both Francoise and Erzsébet have your hands raised. So Francoise first, and then Erzsébet, I believe. Francoise?
Yes, I have a comment about the global aspect. We were discussing among the co-chairs, we have co-chairs in this interest group. Amy is from the USA, I am from France. We have Devika from India and Emma from Australia. And we were thinking that we could use RDA Global Reach and the fact that we have co-chairs also in the Asia Pacific region to organize a specific meeting of the interest group for the Asia Pacific region, which means at a proper time, not a time like this one, but a better time. I see that we have colleagues from that region around the screen, and I am really happy to welcome you with us. And I know that it's difficult at this time of the day. So we would like to organize a meeting for the India Pacific region of the evaluation of research interest group in collaboration with Quora. Quora as a board member who is in Australia. And I think we would like to do that in the coming months. And it could be another action if Erzsébet thinks it makes sense. And if the people around the screen think it makes sense also, of course.
I think that's the more important part, Francoise and Javier. Thanks enormously for your shout out. I know that I should have included all this in my presentation. You know, it's a matter of what compromises you make in your 5 minutes. But indeed, like Quora is a global coalition. It's a coalition that is optimized on the level of organizational membership. But as Javier said, it's free of charge. Organizations only commit through in-kind contributions. That is, they read the agreement, they endorse it, and they implement it within their organizations. So I put the agreement link in the chat. I also put the link to the agreement signature form. You can see that it's a very light touch, very easy document. But indeed, the leadership of a given institution had to be convinced to implement Quora at their organizations. Thanks a lot, Javier, for the ERC link as well. It's an important one. And indeed, so by the first anniversary of Quora, we were very proud to have member organizations from all continents. But when you have a look into the proportions, it's being a truly equitably, balancedly global coalition. This is something that we are aiming towards because research is global by nature, and it makes sense that the reform has to be global in nature. But at this moment, having representatives from each continent in every working group and so on, this is something that we would love to see, and we envy from RDA in a good sense of envy, if you know what I mean. This is absolutely astonishing and inspiring also for us. The first non-European national national chapter is in the making from Latin America. So that's also another milestone in the making for globalization. But we are also, once again, as I said, like we are here to get inspired also on how best to turn Quora into a truly equitably global coalition.
Gabi, go ahead, please.
Hi, good morning here. Well, maybe a comment on that. I think we had a person from Universidad Nacional in Costa Rica that joined Quora in a moment, and then I think he's not going to the meetings now, but I don't know. I have to speak with him. But I think one of the facts that I have speak with other groups in RDA is that the dynamics of the groups and either from Quora or RDA or even Codata are dynamics that are not easy to get involved in for people that are not used to that kind of dynamics in their universities. And I think it's what happened, at least in Latin America, that for us is something new. It's nothing to do with time, with the dates or of the hours of the meetings. It's something about the dynamic in something that is quite new for Latin America. That is data management in all those dynamics and all those categories that RDA or Quora in this case treat and have that dialogue and those productions and all that. I think maybe what I will suggest for us, for Universidad Nacional, is maybe I can write to you to see if we can meet you as one of the groups of Quora with us in Universidad Nacional, and a little bit for you to introduce us of the dynamic. It's the dynamic. It's not the topic. It's the dynamic of how you work, how the meetings go on, how you write all the recommendation, and that kind of things that are maybe easy, are evident for people that are used to do that in their universities, but not exactly for us. And maybe we can talk to you about maybe the challenges for us to participate and all that. Thinking what Javier said about the increasing the participation of people from other regions and latitudes.
Yeah, thank you for that, Gabi. And I think that's a fair point, not just for Quora, but for RDA as well, is thinking about kind of what is that. I know you point out it's a different set of expectations and how to interact and what to expect from those interactions, and that kind of what is that pace? What are when you are a representative, what does that mean? What's expected from you? And I think that's similar both for RDA, perhaps as well as Quora. So both groups could take a lesson from this, and I'd be interested, Gabi, in speaking with you about this also as part of the organizational membership of RDA too. But I'd like to pass it back to Erzsébet very quickly for the last comment in this space that we have around liaison.
Yes, sorry. Gabi, I just wanted to highlight, first of all, that your comment is spot on. I think this is an absolute, sometimes it's even kind of an entry barrier, an implicit one, but an important one. So I think this is, we cannot invest enough into addressing this. I will also be happy to connect you if I have your contact with our Latin American main contact and absolute bridge, the wonderful Luciana Balboa, who is also Quora steering board member. And she has the regional knowledge, and she's the best position in bridging points. But of course, I'm also happy to contribute in any way you see it makes sense. Yes, I will also keep an eye on the chat, and thanks a lot everybody for all your comments and the exchange.
Yes, thank you all for that. And Erzsébet, I'm sure you see Gabi's email there in chat as well. I also wanted to respond really quickly to a comment in chat from Yasuhiro, talking about if people have connections that show the progression from Dora to Quora. So I think that might be an interesting conversation to have with Yasuhiro offline, but also to address your comment in like thinking about those steps within the evaluation of research. I think I linked before, and then you can also find it in Erzsébet's slides, the link to the Zotero library on research assessment, which can give some really nice background on that. And then I would also point both to this group as well as the Quora effort for looking at that international aspect for evaluation and assessment of research. So thank you for that, Yasuhiro. Is there anything else you wanted to add to that?
Thank you very much. Yeah, not a lot about to talk about this. I'm a beginner as I wrote, and then but then the the very small fragment of the research community in Japan or in Asia are having the problem in research assessment, and the government are too much strong of the influence for the university assessment, etc. And so I would like to show how the international people are making this effort and this progress, and so it is really important to show the core activity. And on the other hand, I don't understand. So some people discuss in Japan about the Dora in past, and so I was interested in how I can explain the historical steps that about from the Dora to the Quora. This is just an example. It's not really for Dora. Focus.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Yasuhiro. I think, as I said in chat, that this is another great reason to look at having that Oceania Asia more friendly time meeting for the work of this group as well. And so we would love to talk with you about, Yasuhiro, how we can make sure that you're able to attend that meeting, as well as anyone else from the groups that you're associated with in Japan who are interested in these conversations. So great. And I almost could not ask for a better segue as we jump back into our slides and talk about the other work of this group. So I will go ahead and reshare. There we go. So one of the things that this group has been working on is the Registry of Relevant Initiatives, which was a conversation that had come up in the last plenary at Costa Rica. We have a task force established, which I am very honored to take the role of leading, which means I schedule meetings and organize documents, which is always fun. We've had 3 meetings in March around this, and we wanted to share our work thus far with the community to get your feedback on that. So what our work has started on was we wanted to first take a stab at developing what are the things people need to know about, initiatives in research assessment, and really take the perspective of looking at that from stakeholder perspectives to determine like what are people going to search on, what do they want to know about these initiatives that's going to help them out. So we established several different stakeholder groups, a researcher, an administrator of an organization, a publisher, a funder and a policy maker. And we took examples from those and thought about, like I said, what they would like to search on. So today I'd like to share some of those use cases that we're using to drive these discussions, share what we've come up so far for the draft information and elements, and then have a discussion about how does this feel to you as members of these stakeholder groups, or perhaps of a stakeholder group who is not accounted for yet? And then have a quick conversation about one of the challenges that we're facing is it's great to have information, but where do we put this information so that is useful, so that it is findable? You know, almost all of those fair things, findable and accessible and reusable, at least for people who are looking, as Yasuhiro has noted, across the world for trying to get into these things. So to first share, so what are some of our situations? So really, like I said, we had stakeholder roles, and these are some of the situations that we envisioned our stakeholders looking at. So ideas like, I'm an administrator of a research performing institution, and I want to revise my institution's approach to evaluating research. So I need to do benchmarking. I need to see what else is going on out there in the world, who's doing what in what ways. Then we also looked at, I'm a researcher and I want to know where I can go to contribute to this, because I want to make sure my voice is heard, my perspectives are taken into account, because I have ideas in this space. And that's true whether you're a researcher or a member of one of the other stakeholder groups, policymaker, a funder, things like that. One of our other situations was being an administrator, a funder, or a policymaker who wants to make sure that your approach is aligned, is internationally aligned, because as we know, as we've heard, research is a global endeavor, and we want to make sure when we approach assessment of research that we're doing this in a way that supports each other rather than counters each other. And then our last few situations are, you know, looking to understand the landscape to avoid duplicating someone else's work or reinventing the wheel that someone else has already created. Thinking as an administrator who wants to understand what kind of criteria others are considering for data, for software, or even other non-traditional research outputs. And then finally thinking as a funder who wants to be able to implement this research evaluation according to international best practices. So I'd like to pause there for a minute, open it up, either again, raise your hand, unmute yourself, or put stuff in chat. How do these perspectives seem to you in terms of trying to identify what are the important elements that people are going to be looking for when they look for what else is going on in the world in the space of research assessment and evaluation? I've also just accept thumbs ups if people want to do that. Matt, please. Oh, you were there for a minute.
Sorry.
There you are.
Thank you, me. Hi, and thanks for the session. And I was going to type something in the chat, read Quora, and then didn't, but I'll say it out loud here. I'll just say we're following very closely the work of Quora and are very interested in it. One of the challenges we face is the resources to engage effectively, given how many different organizations are active, but just not on this topic, but on related topics. But thrilled to see the coming together of the Quora work and the work here at the RDA. And I know some other work I do regarding research on research. There's a lot of work there with Quora as well. In Canada, we had a workshop not long ago organized by Natalie Harrower, who is actually on the call here today as well, looking at this very question about rethinking research assessment in light of open science, and how do we start incorporating different evaluation and assessment processes to incentivize and show the value we place on open science practices. So I'll just say we're thinking through all of this, and at SSHRC, so SSHRC stands for the Social Science and Humanities Research Council of Canada, where I work. We, as well as our sister agencies, although not necessarily in a fully coherent fashion, are looking at how we define research excellence, looking at how we think through research assessment practices. And so maybe there's ways of engaging with Coera and the broader community around this, that is a little lighter touch than perhaps needing to be involved in, and I know you're not saying we need to be involved in all the working groups, but finding a way of having a light touch engagement to make sure that information is flowing would be useful. I'll say another, in addition to thinking about open science and assessment, we're also thinking through different ways of knowing and knowledge diversity and epistemological diversity, and how do we embrace think through that in light of research assessment. And we're currently developing a project with the Research on Research initiative, thinking through how we can develop some good practices and some training for assessors. And I have no doubt there'll be overlap there with some of the other work Coera is doing. So just a big thanks to the group that's been organizing this session, because this is hugely valuable for us.
Thank you for Matt. We really appreciate that. Natalie, was there something you wanted to add?
No, I just heard my name, so I thought I should show my
So
face.
you showed up.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think like everywhere is in a different place on this topic, right? But I think the emphasizing the need for the reform of research assessment to be able to prop up other areas of open science that have moved ahead and maybe have stalled, to me, is one of the key arguments to make. It's very hard to move those other pieces along if the assessment stays the same. And everyone in this room understands that, but I think that needs to be emphasized repeatedly. And in the Canadian context, it's just different. It's where, who has the final say on these things and where are the motivators. And so, as Matthew said, the funders are trying to move ahead, but there isn't a national mandate, and it gets complicated. So, and I'm sure other jurisdictions deal with these kinds of things. So where, who in a sense holds the, it's not holds the keys, I guess it's around carrots and sticks, right? Right, that's all.
Yeah, thank you for that, Natalie. And I think it's a strong point that, evolving the evaluation of research is fundamental to evolving and developing open research and open science. Without having the one, we can't drive the other, because we can't offer reasonably either carrots or sticks or, anything else if we don't have some type of metrics to base it on. Gabi, please.
Yes, I think, and hearing Natalie, I think one of I work in the research vice rectory. I don't know how you call it in your institutions, but then I am kind of in the scope of the administrator, let's say. But I think what we are dealing and what is hard for us to deal with the evaluation is not only to change the point of view of how you evaluate the research, but the different stakeholders that are involved, those stakeholders that you have there, they interact in an institution. Then I from my vice directory point of view, can evaluate differently from how the person, the researcher, is evaluated for in their job, okay, by the faculty, or how is evaluated in the office that I don't know how you call that in English, that you ascend in your job category, in the job category, academic category. Then all those evaluations not necessarily have the same point of view. And then we can evaluate from one perspective and maybe following DORA and all that. But then when that researcher arrives to the evaluation of his work by the faculty, the evaluation that I didn't do something for him or for her. Then I think one of our problems is like, and then we have the government, we are a public university, then we have the government that evaluate us from our research too. And then we have to agree with the government too, because what we try to improve in our university from our point of view, have to agree in some in some measure to what the government wants. Then it's very hard to mix all those perspectives of those stakeholders.
I think you're absolutely right with that, Gabi. And this is one of the reasons why within this registry, we're trying to be sensitive to what the needs of the different stakeholders are when they are looking for, what people are doing in all of these spaces and the different perspectives that they might take on to take a look at those. So with that, I think most of the stakeholders that you named, Gabi, we have taken into account for situations when we're looking at this. So I'm really happy to hear that. Beth, was there something that you wanted to add?
Yeah, I'm just looking at this list, at the registry list. I don't see myself reflected in here, so I'm raising my hand because I think that maybe I belong on the list. So I work for the Digital Repository of Ireland, and repositories, could kind of go under the I am a publisher statement. But I think it's more than about know where to go to contribute. Like, we do need to be paying attention to how things are being evaluated and therefore how we're sharing the outputs so that they can be evaluated. Maybe that sentence, I don't know, does kind of apply, but I feel like we're a part of the conversation in terms of like what's possible to do with sharing through a repository and what we might need to rethink in order to think about fair dissemination of research outputs, preservation of research outputs in terms of new forms of evaluation.
So with that, Beth, would you, so you would say, I am a repository manager, administrator, grand person of repositories, and what do you want to do within this space of the registry of efforts? What are you looking for? What would you look for if you're like looking through all of these efforts? What do you want to find?
Oh, in terms of the sentence, I would say like support is probably a good verb to use. I'm a repository who wants to support the evolution of research evaluation. Therefore, what can I do to make sure that you get the outputs in the way that you want them, make it attractive to researchers to use our repositories in order to contribute to new forms of research evaluation.
Okay, great. Thank you. We will add that in. All right. With that, and again, if there are more stakeholder perspectives that you feel are not being reflected in what we have so far, please feel free to stick those in chat. We will be capturing chat. And if you could really think about it in terms of the I am a role who wants to do something within that space of I'm trying to find efforts, I'm looking at what other people are doing. What is the thing you're looking for? What are you trying to do in this space? So having started with this list of stakeholders and the situations, the use cases kind of that they find themselves in when looking across that broad landscape of other efforts, these are the information elements that we've developed so far, the metadata for this registry. And just to be clear, this is we're talking about a registry of efforts. So kind of high level, we're not digging into the efforts. We're describing the efforts for all y'all so that you can find what you're interested in finding in these spaces. So what we have here, you can see the list of information entities, information types. If you're interested in definitions, this is why we have a tab in the spreadsheet that says data dictionary, because we are developing those definitions so we all agree on what each of these means. But we have the basics here. What's the name of the effort? Who is kind of running that effort? Is there a parent institution of that effort? Because oftentimes, as we know, with an organization, it is put over here in committee, and then it's part of that parent institution. For whoever is running that effort, is there a contact name, contact email? So if you have questions, you can reach out to them. What are their goals? And then really thinking about what is the scope, what is the discipline that they're covering, if it's a particular discipline or type of material, why was this started, and then getting into some other things so you get a sense of timeliness, like when was the effort started? Was it 5 years ago? Was it last month? So you have a sense of that maturity of the effort. And then thinking about other things like what are there major methods that they're focusing on within this group that they've developed, and details like that. So we wanted to kind of ground truth this with this community to understand, take a look at this and see, just, is there something that immediately sticks out to you that's missing, again, from this registry of efforts? If you are looking for an effort across the globe, what's missing? Thank you, Matt.
We know that it's a bit difficult to react on the spot to this kind of things, so the meeting notes will remain open. And if you think a bit more in the coming days, don't hesitate to write your comments in the meeting notes, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that, Francoise. And then I would also add that if you're interested in joining this effort to create a registry, please hit me up, and I will get you into the group and into the conversations and into the meetings so that you can be a part of contributing to this. Thank you, Javier. So please reach out. And then I also wanted to bring out, just for a general collection of ideas, like I mentioned before, one of the challenges for this registry is, where should it live? If you're someone who wants to access this information, what would be a good way for you to access it? The base level, to be perfectly frank, is a Google form and a Google Doc that we can do, but I don't think that's necessarily the best home or platform for this type of information. So we're also interested in collecting ideas as to what is an appropriate home for this information, for this registry itself. So please take that and think about it. And we would love to hear back from you, as Francoise points out in the notes, or as you think through this right now. All right. Well, with that, I think I will pass this back to you, Francoise, to talk about this pre-plenary meeting about the RDA role in tackling disciplinary aspects.
Yes, we do not have much time left, so I will go fast on the presentation. You have all the information is available. The slide presented at the meeting notes. We had not so many participants, but it was interesting, as usual in RDA, the variety of profiles and disciplinary fields. So all the details are in the pre-plenary meeting notes. We asked people the most common research outputs in their discipline, and of course we are in RDA, data and software are showing up, but not only. And we see the diversity, Quora, and evaluation of research evolution is linked to recognizing the diversity of research outputs, and here it is a small, the top of the iceberg of the research outputs. So then the questions were, is this properly evaluated in your discipline? And the most common answer was, it depends. And so it's true, there is lots of work to do to have these things properly recognized, which are not the usual bibliometric indexes. So then we had kinds of a bit statements which could be discussed, or at least think about, to encourage people to think about discipline, about specificities of disciplinary evaluation. Would it be more efficient, more effective than the standard approaches if the disciplinary aspects were taken into account? Early career researchers are disadvantaged by the current evaluation practices in my field, and it's clear it depends on the kind of work they are doing, of course, and the outputs of that work. Not all of them are recognized. My institution funding body is open to adopting more diverse evaluation metrics. We see that things are progressing and the institutions are moving on, as we heard during the discussion. And RDA can contribute. We have to demonstrate that we can contribute, but we think we can contribute. So then we gathered input on the disciplinary aspects about metrics and indicators, initiatives happening, and concrete deliverables. And I think now you have to have a look at the meeting notes, because it's where the things, yes, thank you. I think it would be good if you move to them eventually, or all the participants should go to the meeting notes to see the diversity of contributions. So these metrics and indicators, we have a list which came from the pre-plenary meeting, and you are very welcome to add your additional inputs. We have, of course, peer-reviewed papers and but also qualitative indicators, narrative descriptions, narrative CV, which came several times. And we know it's a hot topic in many places. The difficulty to define these things for software, so this has to be taken into.
And I think Francoise has frozen.
Zut.
You're back.
I am back.
You are back.
It's because I was looking at the so I will put the video off, hoping that things will go on. So you are really welcome to add your contributions on metrics and indicators, because I think it helps everybody to have a view of a diversity of metrics and indicators, and also naming them is important at this stage. Not only to say they are diverse, but to try to name what could be used eventually. And so then we are trying to list the initiatives which are currently happening in the field to change evaluation practices. And we have a list of them, and it's also something which can feed our registry afterwards. And I found, after the pre-plenary meeting, I found a very interesting set of documents from the agency which evaluates research in France. And they have done disciplinary guides to research outputs and activities. And I think that it would be extremely useful to gather this kind of information. They are probably in the native language of the agency. I think I had the occasion to talk with Erzsébet. He told me there is something in Hungarian of this kind. So my impression is that it's another path of action which could be shared between RDA and COARA, because COARA has the national chapters to talk to about gathering this kind of information. And we have our worldwide community to gather information about this kind of documents if they exist. I am not sure there are many. And then there will be a very interesting work to put everything together and try to translate and see if the things are similar in the different disciplinary and national contexts. But I think that gathering this information about how do you know about disciplinary guides to research outputs and activities, to research outputs, because we discuss outputs. If you know about it, I think please write a link in the meeting notes. And I think it's one path of action we can have to build once again on the diversity of a global RDA community. So I don't know if there are objections, but it's something we can do at the level of the ID. And working in particular with the ambassadors, if they know something about these kind of things, it could be very good that we share this information. We gather and share this information.
Thank
So
you for that, Francoise.
I think, yes, there is the last point is what we can do, and it's one of the things, and it's not the only one. So we have to go on with the questions about what I just said, and then we will have to say a few words about possible topics forward, in addition to what I just said.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Francoise. I would like to open up comments from other people to address the questions that Francoise has presented around disciplinary aspects of research evaluation. Please raise your hand or speak up or put something in chat. As Beth has noted in chat, the ambassadors are meeting today at 1600 UTC. So we can continue some of that discussion there as well as to what the ambassadors are aware of in terms of disciplinary aspects of research evaluation and assessment and documentation and efforts around those. But any other thoughts or responses to these questions about how this interest group would be most valuable to help addressing these challenges in your particular discipline or disciplines that you are working with or are aware of? All right, well, we will leave that for you to think about as well. I encourage you, as thoughts do come up, please come back to the session notes and add your comments there, add your thoughts there, add the initiatives that you're aware of. We want to make sure that we are connecting people, we are building those bridges so that we can do more better together. So please do add that information, add those initiatives, and look forward to continuing this conversation in the ambassadors meeting as well around disciplinary initiatives. Yes?
I was wondering if we, RDA is about data. So if we discuss disciplinary aspects of evaluation, the immediate thought is we have to deal with data first, although data is not the only thing. Javier made a powerful comment about that in the chat. So who around the screen would be interested in discussing the data aspects of evaluation, disciplinary aspects linked to data in the evaluation? Because we know that data outputs can be very different from one discipline to another and so on. And RDA is the right place to discuss these kind of things, I think. Beth?
Absolutely with you on that, Francoise. I think one connection is with the non-traditional research outputs group, who is also taking a look at some of these. And Beth, please go ahead.
You stole my point, Amy.
I was so sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, no, I think we were both in that session.
Yes.
The other day. And a lot of the questions they're asking are around, kind of what constitutes data. How do we think about different types of outputs within a data framework? So, starting with data is probably not a bad idea as long as our concept of data is not just quantitative, fixed scientific data, which I think is a point that, Francoise has been trying to raise with we need disciplinary perspectives, and it's also already come up. But if we go at it with that, I think that is going to be really broad already. And then if we, include publications afterwards, that's kind of, in my mind, the only thing that's not data.
Software.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, software necessary to data. But
is software part of
non-traditional
research output? Yeah,
it is a non-traditional research output, absolutely. And yet at the same time, not necessarily evidence, but that is a conversation for another time. But all of those things, I think, because when we keep on talking about evaluation for research and RDA, we are always careful to recognize that software is a partner with all of the things that we might term data or evidence in these spaces. So thank you, Beth, for for reiterating and reemphasizing that point around non-traditional research outputs, and that data remains one of those non-traditional research outputs, especially data as broadly interpreted as we have been doing within RDA, as something more than the rectangular data that we are often used to seeing as the UR data kind of example. Gabi, did you want to add something here?
Yes, I think in that what just discussing Francois just asked, I think maybe a good idea could be seeing that all the groups of RDA that that discuss around disciplinary issues, maybe to ask them if they think about the evaluation on the topic that they are discussing, what indicators or metrics can they recommend to do the evaluation on that? Maybe it could be a good question that you can roll around the groups, the IGs, the WGs, the feathers, and all that. It could be a nice practice for RDA. It's something that maybe we don't do as much as we could do to react between groups and to have that dialogue around what I do can help you in what you do.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right with that, Gabi, and it's something that we should put some more effort into. I know that we have as well put it there. It's that we've been really conscious about listing many of these groups, but yes, I invite everyone who might have a connection already with some of those disciplinary groups to take this question back to their groups as well. If you're here and there, let's bring that together in a grand confluence of information sharing and idea development. So thank you for that. I do want to be sensitive to the time. Discipline.
I just have a comment about that particular point. I think we can take the action to send a message to the group chairs, because there is a list which allows us to do that. So we can take the action to send a message to the group chair list, asking them if you have input to provide about these aspects, please share them. And plus, if you are interested in participating in the discussion, we can go a bit further than encouraging people, but just shaking them a bit to encourage them by sending a message focused on this issue so we can take the action for after the plenary.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Thank you, Francoise. And thank you, Gabi, for raising that as well. As I said, I did want to be sensitive to our time and getting through our agenda. Oh, and also like actually managing slides. So our last item, our second to last item on the agenda is considering updating one of the group's outputs, which is the RDA value for evaluation of research outputs. And I think this connection to groups that we were just talking about is precisely one of those values that RDA brings to evaluation, to the space of evaluation of research. We have the RDA group, which centralizes so many disciplinary perspectives and provides us connections to them. But Francoise, I wanted to turn this back over to you for some quick comments around this updating effort.
Yes, the starting point was that RDA is changing every day with new groups and evolutions in the groups. So we wondered if it would be useful to update a document which is 1 year old, more or less. And so we opened the possibility to the group members to post I made some suggestions of changes, taking into account the evolution of groups and so on, and the evolution of liaison with other groups, with other initiatives. And the document, the updated document, was open for comments, and we got comments. So my feeling is that it's worth updating the document because people care about commenting it. There is a question for the colleagues of uptake of digital research infrastructure. So we will ask them. I think the Australians are not here, and I understand why now. So we will ask them Irache asked a question about the possible criteria, the things they could bring in the game. And I think from the comments we got until now, it's worth updating the document. So please provide your comments. You have a link to the updated document. You can add your comments and suggestions now or in the coming days, and we will propose an updated version to the interest group before sending it for request for comment to RDA. But I think there has been enough interest for people to comment, so it means it's worth updating it.
Yeah. Thank you.
So just an encouragement to have a look at the document and to provide your comments, please. We need you as usual.
Yes, this is all of it. Definitely a community effort. And as part of that, we want to say thank you to everyone who has shared your time with us today. And I am going to stop sharing my slides after we have given you the thank you, and really open it up just to talk about what our next actions are and what we've planned in this space, what we're going to do collectively before the next plenary and to prepare for the next plenary. So I think we have a number of actions around disciplinary aspects for evaluation of research, some different people to reach out to. We have some actions around connecting with Quora and helping to spread information about the efforts and encourage collaboration in those spaces. Of course, we're also working on the task force will continue its work on developing that registry of research evaluation efforts. So we encourage you to contribute to that. And in preparation for the next plenary, the International Data Week in Australia, we will also be having a meeting, hopefully in the near future, that is available and convenient for the Oceania Asia time space to invite contributions and participation in that area. So we look to members of RDA and this group and those other efforts to participate in that as well. So we'll make sure to reach out to you there.